Hey YouTube, so I'm going to do a few reviews on books that I've been reading. I debated on doing individual videos for all of these, but I don't feel like I have enough to say about them to warrant their own video. So this is just a couple of books that I've read recently. The first one is Jenny McCarthy's Love, Lust, and Faking It. I was really excited to read this. I really enjoyed the Chelsea Handler books. I highly recommend all three of them. I couldn't put them down. They were like, made me laugh so hard I was crying, and I wanted this to be the same way. It feels very amateurish to me. Like each chapter has its own, like little topic. How to love yourself. There's a chapter on masturbation, abusive relationships. But it feels very amateur to me. Like it doesn't really have a whole lot of personal stories or like Chelsea Handler's book is like all about her little personal, things that happened to her and vacations she went on, and kind of like Lori Notaro. I know somebody else had mentioned her, and I love her books as well, and those are super funny. But this was just like, here's what Jenny McCarthy thinks about abusive relationships, and here's some tips for going to couples therapy. And she posted a lot of conversations, like dialogue that she had with people that was just kind of, so what? She did a lot of lists where she would list, like, oh, here's a funny list of things that people call their genitals, and I don't know, it felt like it was trying too hard. I don't think it was worth reading. Don't buy it, go to the library if you're that interested, but I don't even think it was worth reading. So yeah, I don't know, it just wasn't personal enough for me. Like I wanted more anecdotal things rather than here's what I think about this and here's what I think about that. So meh. This one I finished, Dark Lover. This is the Black Dagger Brotherhood first book. This was really, really good. Very fun read, very similar to kind of the Sookie Stackhouse books, although I felt like this had more thought into the whole, well, it didn't explain things very well, though. I don't know. Sookie Stackhouse does a better job of explaining things. This had kind of a better history, and you got a better sense of the ancestry of vampires and things like that, but there's still a lot of questions unanswered in this, but it's just a fun read. Like, if you like Twilight, you'll probably really like this. I think it's written better than Twilight, but the only thing I didn't like was that in a lot of stories, and the same thing in Twilight for me, like the romance was so over the top, like, oh my god, I met you and now I'm head over heels in love with you at first sight, and to me that's really unrealistic. Kind of that like teenage love, and as an adult or the older you get, like you kind of realize that that's not stuff that lasts, and I feel like in Twilight and in this it does, although I've only read the first book so I don't know, but that was one of the things. Like it was just too cheesy to me. Like Edward, I'm sorry, but if you're over the age of 18, like guys like Edward don't exist, and there can be a guy that's perfect for you, but there's no such thing as a perfect guy who never does anything wrong. So anyway, this is a fun read, so if you're looking for something that's a quick read and just, relaxing and fun. Crazy Aunt Pearl, Drunk, Divorced, and Covered in Cat Hair, by Lori Perry. I liked this a lot. It was funny. It was cute, but I didn't like it as much as I like her blog. A whole book dedicated to her. I think I'm just used to her in snippets, so this was a little bit overbearing for me. I'm still probably going to check out her other book. And then the whole back of the book, trying to think of how many pages are dedicated. Quite a bit, actually, from page like around 200. Anyway, this whole part right here is all knitting. So it's a bunch of knitting ideas and recipes that she calls them, and then it has pictures in the back. But I'm not into knitting, so that part didn't really relate to me. But I did like her writing and her humor. I can't really relate to it because she's going through divorce. I guess I could kind of think about it in terms of breakups and how sucky breakups are, but hopefully I never have to go through the divorce situation. So anyhow, yeah, it wasn't quite, I think the little short snippets she does on her blog are, they're just more funny. I don't know. That's, yeah. The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. Okay, so I think she does a really good job at presenting her story as kind of an objective part. She doesn't really say anything negative about what she went through. It's not positive. It's not like, oh my God, every day was a blast because we were poor and my parents were crazy. But she's also not like, oh, it sucked and every day I was miserable. She just tells, like, this is what happened. I remember this, I remember that. And it's a very detailed account of childhood. But it was just painful to read. And a lot of movies are like that for me, where if there's not like a happy ending where everybody's okay, then I kind of leave feeling dissatisfied. I wanted that storytale, ending, fairy tale ending. So, storybook ending, fairy tale ending. So this was just, it was difficult to read. Like, she talks a lot about her dad's alcoholism and how her mom would go and get a job and the dad would spend the mom's money on booze, and like they were blowing money on things they didn't need right off the bat, and then they were living like in an abandoned house on the outside of town. The kids don't ever have enough to eat. The kids don't have enough clothing. Every time they move, all the kids have to leave everything behind. And it was just sad to me, like, to realize that she went through that. And then the fact that, yes, her and her siblings were able to take care of each other and get out of that lifestyle, but her mother and father never did. And it also made me wonder what it was about her parents that led them to be that way. And that wasn't really ever explained. Like, what was it that, her parents in the beginning, she shows a picture of them on their wedding day and they look normal. And considering the time period that they got married, I want to say in the 60s, 56, I don't think it was that normal for people to embrace like a kind of nomad lifestyle. And apparently for her family it was. So there was a lot that I wanted to know about her parents that she didn't really get into. It was more just an objective look at, this was my childhood, here it is. So it was interesting. It was just sad. It was depressing. And I wanted her parents to be okay, and they never really were. And, she can obviously remember fond times from her childhood, but as an outsider, it's hard to understand that. So, and I know that for me, growing up, I had friends who came from like a family of 10 brothers and sisters and never had enough to eat, always had hand-me-down clothes, and the mom didn't work, the dad did, and it was like they were always broke. And just to see her go through that and kind of struggle with, how she felt about it, and trying to be proud, but at the same time feeling embarrassed, especially like in high school. I don't know, that kind of stuff, it's interesting, but it's kind of like A Child Called It, where it's just, you read it and it's heartbreaking and it's upsetting. And I think for me right now in my life, like, I just would rather read stuff that's more fun or interesting or lighthearted, or at least if it's going to be difficult, like there's a shining light at the end, and the shining light at the end of this just wasn't enough for me. So, and right now I'm reading The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin, which is going to be a TV show soon. So I'll probably try to do another review, or let me know if you guys like this, or if I should do little short, like 2-minute reviews for each book. I think next time I'm going to write stuff down so I don't feel like I'm rambling or saying the same thing over and over. But just brief recommendations on, do I think this is worth reading or not. So there you go. That's my reviews for today. So I'm going to go drop these off at the library before they're overdue. And I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And let me know if you have any requests